This game is good. This game is also good. And this game, well, this is a masterpiece. Now, what do they all have in common? If you answered all of them being good, you're completely wrong. How'd you even come up with that conclusion anyhow? No, they all have that one part that most players could look at and unanimously agree sucks. RPGs are a lot longer than the average game, so there's more room to make mistakes compared to other genres. And even the best of the best don't come out flawless, so I'm going to go over some highly regarded RPGs and pick out the parts that both I and many others can agree just aren't as good as the rest of the game. These are the worst parts of great RPGs. How can I talk about this game without coming off as redundant? It is one of the best pieces of media ever crafted by human hands, a game so good it doesn't even feel real. With one of the best atmospheres I've seen in any game ever. It's basically flawless. Okay, well, if it's flawless, why is it on here then? That's a pretty good question. I don't even know actually. Let me try to break it down. Okay, so I'd say 95% of this game is like a 10 out of 10, and 4% is like a 9 or 8 out of 10. Well, what does that 1% entail? I have a few things in mind, both from my own experiences and the opinions of others. The future. A lot of people say this entire section of the game is its low point. They usually cite the barren, gloomy atmosphere, which despite it being intended, overstays its welcome to some people, as well as the annoying fights. And let me just say, hell no. I'm all for opinions, but I don't understand this. The future does such a good job at upping the stakes of the game, and in the grand scheme of things, doesn't overstay its welcome at all. Also, the atmosphere is just cool as hell. I love this shit, man. Another part of the game that people point to as a low point is Giga Gaia. This is a boss pretty far into the game and doesn't take up that much of it, but a lot of people seem to struggle with it for some reason. I don't know why I say for some reason, because I struggled with it too actually, and I can tell you why. I'll admit, it's not nearly as hard as I remember, but I can understand how it can be annoying to some people. There are 3 targets in this fight, 2 hands and a head, and those hands regenerate. The main target is the head, but if you don't take care of the hands, you better prepare for an ass whooping. It seems to give some people trouble, and I will admit, it's a bit of a difficulty spike, but I wouldn't call this fight bad by any means. For me personally, the worst part of this 10 out of 10 game is Fiend Lord's Keep. I never really cared for dark, gloomy mansion settings, and I vividly remember being pretty underwhelmed at this part of the game. Didn't care much for the fights here either. They were alright, I guess, you know. There were definitely fights. At least Magus is here, which is really the only reason why I even remember this part of the game. Overall, a relatively insignificant 7 out of 10 and a part of a 10 out of 10 game. I can go even further and talk about the Lost Sanctum from the DS version of the game. This optional area is often regarded as being pointless and downright poorly designed. Like, it's the only piece of content that any Chrono Trigger fan will tell you just sucks. It's basically a glorified fetch quest, and I didn't even bother with these because, you know, I got better things to do, man. But enough about this flawless masterpiece, let's move on to a very flawed masterpiece. Final Fantasy VI is a weird one for me because I didn't like it at first, but one day something just clicked for me and it ended up being one of my favorite games of all time. I had played it on and off for a few months and didn't really vibe to it. But around 3 years ago today, I brought my 3DS to my school to play after exams, and something just, I don't even know, I just started to like this game a lot for some reason. But man, there's so much you can point to when it comes to stuff I didn't like about this game. And compared to Chrono Trigger, this gets more scrutiny for its flaws. Let's start off with the most obvious thing ever, the Cultist Tower, aka the root of all of my problems in life. What makes the Cultist Tower so hard, you say, a person who has never played FF6? It just looks like walking, and more walking. I mean, it's boring, but it doesn't look that bad, right? Well, guess what? You can only use magic in this dungeon, which, again, doesn't sound that bad. I mean, this game is heavily magic focused, so it should be easy peasy. Fuck this place, man. It sucks. It sucks so bad. I'm sorry. Not only can you only use magic, but the enemies here are genuinely some of the most aggravating in the entire game. And this means a lot because FF6 enemies are already infuriating. My first time playing, I got to the top of the dungeon and beat the boss first try, which is awesome. Then I died to his final move after you kill him, and let me tell you, I was livid. The dungeon is boring, annoying, and easily the low point of this game. And everyone, on my own soul, everyone will agree this part of the game sucks. Another thing to add on is this takes place in the, FF6 spoilers by the way, skip here if you don't want to get spoiled. It takes place in the world of Ruin, which a lot of people will personally say is when the game gets worse. But I love the world of Ruin. I prefer it over the world of Balance, but I can see why some people didn't really like this part of the game. It's really open-ended, and without clear directions, it's kind of frustrating to traverse. Plus, it's just really gloomy, and it keeps this up for the rest of the game. But honestly, I found this to be where I got really immersed in the game. Also, since the Cultist Tower is kinda a normie pick, I gotta say the floating continent was a slog. And in fact, it almost made me drop the game. Insta-death enemies, annoying as hell dungeon design, and a weirdly hard boss. It's such a huge difficulty spike, and I know it's meant to mark a serious change in the game, but damn, I just don't like it. I didn't even save Shadow because I was so done with this part of the game that I just left that dude to die. Rip Shadow, maybe I'll save you in another playthrough. Not this time though. Not even gonna beat around the bush here, let me tell you, people hate the final dungeon. It's literally called Infinity. It's long, labyrinthian, and tedious. This thing is so hated, there's a whole ass video essay breaking down why it's horrible, but not gonna lie, I liked it. I'm not even gonna apologize for this one, I stand by my opinion. It's one giant endurance test, basically a marathon that takes your characters to their absolute limits. As someone who had a strong grasp on the game's mechanics, it was a cakewalk. I don't mind that it's a difficulty spike, because like, yeah, it's the final dungeon. Not the game's fault you weren't prepared. It is really annoying though, that if you die, you're forced to redo like hours of content. A part of the game I personally didn't like was the whale cave. I already know someone likes this part of the game a little bit too much, which honestly just makes me dislike it even more. I'm now just realizing RPGs have like a really weird trope of dungeons where you're swallowed by something and have to escape it. Like, it happens a lot. The dungeon isn't bad, it's not annoying, but I don't like it. The aesthetic is rough on my eyes. It's just really ugly, but at least we get a pet whale, so that's a bonus. The worst part of Mother 3, all the crying you're gonna do playing this game. Oh god, here it comes. The worst part of Mother 3, the fact it's still not localized after almost 20 years now. The worst part of Mother 3, the giant hole that will be in your heart once you realize you'll never play a game this good ever again. The worst part of Mother 3, it's Chapter 7. Yeah, I'm gonna get some angry comments over this. You're probably yelling at the screen saying, but Chapter 3 is right there. Honestly, Chapter 3 is great. What is wrong with you? Yes, you're all wrong. Chapter 3 isn't the worst chapter. Chapter 7 is kinda the calm before the storm that is Chapter 8, and it's probably the most open-ended part of the game, as it's sorta one big fetch quest. But I don't say fetch quest as a bad thing, it's still really enjoyable, but I do believe it kinda overstays its welcome a bit. It's a lot less story focused as other parts of the game. Chapter 7 has some of the best moments in the entire series, and really ends on a strong note, so it's not even close to bad. It just has its moments where I want to step away from the game to take a break, something I can't say for any of the other parts of the game. Feel free to flame me for this, it wouldn't be the first time I had a terrible opinion in one of my videos. Moving on to Mother 3's amazing but imperfect older brother, there is so much I could point to when it comes to parts I don't like. I recently played the entire game for the first time for a video that is totally coming out, guys, I promise. Trust, I totally didn't abandon this project because I thought the script sucked. Yeah, no, I love this game, but holy crap does it get annoying. Where do I even start? Okay, the status effects in this game just do something to me. Especially the mushroom. Oh god, that makes me livid. And it's such a huge problem too early on. But I'd say a lot of that annoyance is by design, and in a way, adds to the personality of this game. The worst part for me is easily Scaraba. I just don't like desert settings. It's not even that deep, I just feel like it lacks the charm of the rest of the game. And the heat stroke gets mad annoying after a while. It's where I dropped the game originally, and honestly, I don't see why. I mean, it's not that bad. It's like that one meme with the miner stopping before he finds diamonds, because after this, the game becomes arguably even more peak than it already was. God, I need to finish that Earthbound video. You know what? Now that it comes to mind, the real worst thing is inventory management. That shit sucked. The whole game. Okay, let me go back to the mother one real quick. Now, there's a lot I could mention, but the most obvious choice would definitely be Duncan's Factory. This dungeon is so hated, it's basically a meme in the community. And I would give my opinion on it, but too bad I dropped the game. Man, I really am an amazing YouTuber, huh? Okay, the thing I really disliked was when you would get a new party member, they always start at level 1. So you have to grind for them specifically, and it gets really mind-numbing. Well, I mean, apparently one of them joins at like level 18 or something, but I didn't get that far into the game anyway, so don't ask me about that. This doesn't really sound that bad, but it gets so tiring, and it collectively takes up more time than any stupid dungeon in the game. I have no issue with grinding, but I always prefer when it's optional. Sometimes I like to grind, sometimes I like to power through challenging battles using strategy. Here, it's basically mandatory. Anyway, Mother 1 is a good game I'm never touching again. FF7 is a game where you're born in the slums and must fight your way to basically kill God. It's excellently crafted, and with how people talk about this game like it's the Sistine Chapel, I wouldn't blame you for thinking it's overrated. But man, that is not the case because this game is near perfection. But with how popular this game is, there is going to be a lot of discourse. And despite how beloved this game is, opinion varies on what the worst parts are. Some people dislike the super bosses, believing they're too hard. I mean, yeah, they're super bosses, what do you expect? I didn't even touch those things because I know my dumbass isn't even gonna put a dent in them. I've heard people say the Midgar slums aren't all that great, and once you leave them, the game really starts to shine. But I love the slums. It really sets the tone for the whole game and makes the moment where you do leave so exciting. What I truly hate, something I believe to be the worst thing in any RPG ever, is the stupid wall boss, Demon's Gate. I hate this thing so much. First of all, why is this demon a wall? It looks goofy. It shouldn't even exist in my opinion. The Final Fantasy series has some goofy ass enemies, a lot of ugly stinkers out there, but this is a low point. Let's be real though, I probably wouldn't be hating nearly as much if this boss just didn't suck. Too bad it does suck though, and here's why. Before I say this, let me preface that I don't inherently dislike difficulty spikes in games. I think they do serve a purpose and act as a sort of wall. Oh my god, I'm just getting it now. Demon wall, difficulty wall. This boss's whole purpose is to act as a giant wall to stop you from progressing if you're not ready. It has multiple attacks that target all party members and do crazy damage, so you'll have to do a lot of healing during this. And the fight is really dragged out and not satisfying, and everyone will agree this fight sucks. When it comes to FF7, everyone has their own differing opinions, but Demon Wall is one of the few things that can unite those people to hate on it. If I had to say what my second least favorite part of FF7 is, it'd be Chocobo Square because gambling is bad for you kids. Just ignore the fact that I spent 10 hours straight in Dragon Quest XI playing the slot machines like a boomer gambling away their grandson's tuition. I don't like the Wild West. I don't even know if that's a controversial opinion, I just know I didn't like it. For those of you who don't know Live Alive, it's basically a bunch of small RPGs mashed in one game with different scenarios and time periods. And not all of these scenarios are equal, but man, the Wild West was such a huge disappointment. You're a sheriff who has to protect their town from getting raided, so you go around setting traps to weaken the raiders. And you know, I was expecting more after this. The raiders come, you beat them extremely easily, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, there's definitely more after this. Then I saw a boss and I was like, this isn't it. Like, this chapter isn't even 40 minutes long. And it's not even like the battles were hard. It's more than manageable to beat these guys without setting a single trap. I was super excited for this chapter due to the setting, but they didn't really do anything with it. Since a lot of these stories are sort of bite-sized, it does have the effect of kind of lacking in substance a little. And the Wild West is the epitome of this. The backtracking. The freaking backtracking. The gosh darn backtracking. There's so many other games I could talk about, but I think that's enough complaining for today. I guess this list kinda shows that not even the best games are infallible, and that something doesn't have to be perfect to be great. Those negative experiences we have are only a small part of the experience, and I guess, depending on who you are, this also applies to life. All of this to say, gosh, I really need to get out more, don't I?